Welcome back. This is Jeff Byers, and I am your instructor for ANY 150, and we are on our last week. Congratulations. We are on Module 7. This is our last project, part 2 of a two-part series. In Module 6, you guys created a low poly, small and large sci-fi crate. So hopefully that went well for you guys. We'll just take you through the introduction to this course. Again, this is kind of basically telling you exactly what I'm hoping you think as well. This was your last project, so let's make it awesome and make it portfolio ready. So you're watching the introduction video, and I'm basically taking you through everything. And this video is brand new. So I made some changes this summer, and I felt it needed to be updated, especially with Substance Painter being purchased by Adobe, and they've made a lot of changes to the UI. So I felt I needed to kind of get everything updated with Substance Painter. Mine hasn't changed that much. We're using 2023. And I'll be using Substance Painter 9. I don't know if you downloaded earlier, this just came out. So if you have version 9, that's great. If you don't, I would go to the cloud or your cloud icon and click on it and see if you can get the latest version, which is 9. So if you have 9, you're good to go. The updates are pretty quick and easy. So what are we going to do? Basically, I don't need to read it word for word, but basically this is part 2. So for Module 7, and you're going to be UV mapping, unwrapping the UVs of the low poly. And we're not doing a high poly. I know that sounds kind of strange, but over the years we have done high polys on everything, and it really didn't work well with the dagger and the crate. The reason for that is there are more issues and problems with baking the maps from the high poly to the low poly that just didn't make it worthwhile, and for the pain and frustration you guys were feeling. So what I ended up doing was they came up with a lot more tools in Substance Painter, allowing us to add the detail that we really need for the sci-fi crate. And I felt the sci-fi crate is a great way to show off what Substance Painter can really do. So basically right now we're in the last stage where you're going to be there's a lot involved here. You guys are going to have to start early on this one, because you're going to be learning new concepts, and you're going to be trying new things, and you're trying to master the tools that you've used so far. So repetition, I try to do that over and over again, but hopefully it will work well with you guys this time. But you need to start early on these. I noticed some of you guys are starting late, and this one you do not want to start late on, so keep that in mind. You're going to be doing a lot. You're going to be UV mapping, unwrapping the low poly into Unum tiles. I did mine, I think I have 7 Unum tiles. That's about average. And one of the things you have to keep in mind is that you have to do at least 3 different materials on your crate. So you're going to have to kind of figure out how you want to texture it, get it in your mind, kind of what you are thinking, and that way you can set the crate up properly for texturing. You're going to be adding edgeware. You have to create edgeware for this crate. It can't be pristine, perfect. We need edgeware. Of course, I do not want to see totally rusted either. I've had students do that, and I really don't think that's appropriate. This crate has not been outside in the elements, so it's normal wear and tear, basically inside use. So a little, I mean like a tiny bit of maybe moisture rust, but full on rust, don't do that. Because it just makes your texture look really bad, and it kind of feels a little bit lazy. So we're just going to do edgeware. Of course, this is your crate. You're going to be adding to it if you want to, because at this point you guys can do that. You can ditch the handles that I have if you want to and put something else there, but I do want to see something there on the sides to be able to hold the crate up. You can change the crate a little bit if you'd like to. Make it wider, taller if you want. That's okay with me, because at this point I've already graded you on your low poly, so at this point it's yours to do what you want with it. Just don't take anything away from it. You can add to it, but don't take away from it. Okay, so you guys can read the rest of the overview and all this other stuff, and we've already gone through all this, so hopefully by this time you know all the shortcut or most of the hotkeys, the shortcut keys. These are just kind of lectures to take you through again as a refresher. I know you watched these before, but that's a refresher. I really want you to concentrate on 3-point lighting. What exactly is it? I always add 3-point lighting on top of any HDR image that I use, high dynamic range image I use for the Sky Dome for the Arnold. It just gives you better lighting. It can fill in areas. Now, I have gotten away with just one key light with a Arnold Dome HDR image, but sometimes it just doesn't look as natural as it can, or realistic. So I always end up using a backlight key and fill light. So keep that in mind while you're doing the lighting. Of course, assignment. Of course, I kind of went through that. This is more specific, so you guys can read that if you want to. This is kind of what I came up with. Again, there's edge wear you see on the top here. Just basic normal wear and tear. Maybe some moisture stains or rust starting. Meaning that it's not been rained on. It's not totally been destroyed by rust, but we've got a little rust on there. That's about as much as I want to see as far as rust goes. Okay. You can notice that I've got I found a cool texture that I found, and I went ahead and used that for the walls and something different for the floor. Try to keep away from using the same texture for the floor that you do for the walls. Now, some of you guys have done that already, and you got to ask yourself, whenever you walk into a house or a room, does the floor look like the walls? Did they just take the walls and use that on the floor? So if you're doing that, please don't do that anymore. So we want to see walls. Yes, but the walls can be the same, the side wall and the back wall, but the floor needs to be different, or if you see the ceiling, it needs to be different. Okay, so find something interesting that's kind of sci-fi, and I might be able to share some stuff with you to get you started that you can bring into Substance Painter. You will have to bring the walls in separately into Substance Painter and texture it, so you'll have to UV map those. Those are easy to UV map, just planar mapping. All right, so then we start the UV mapping in large, small crates. I just demo the large crate first, and then you can watch the videos again for the small crate, since they're basically the same. And you can make them different if you want to, of course, but that's what we have so far with the videos on the UV mapping. Okay. And take your time in UV mapping. Again, I will have to stress, some of you have had issues because you overlap UVs. UV shells on top of each other is a no-no. You also cannot go outside of the UV texture space, which is 0 to 1, which is that black square. Okay. So really be careful. So those are the two things that will hang you up when you get into Substance Painter. Okay. All right, so Substance Painter, these are going to be all new videos. I'm going to have these posted hopefully by tomorrow. And if not, we'll get started. You'll see those come up at around 12 or 1 o'clock p.m. Tomorrow. And then after we get the texturing done, which is going to be brand new videos on how to get it open, set up, and brought into Substance Painter from Maya. And then I take you through the steps of actually using a normal map and detailing. I talk about anchor points and how to add edgeware to the normal maps, because normally they don't show up at all. So that's kind of a new feature in Substance Painter that I wanted to go through, which is really cool. I think you'll really enjoy that part. And it's really fun. We used to do, normally, if you are working in the industry, and I've done this too, it's just that, this is an intro class. I didn't want to go too deep into modeling in ZBrush. Or adding details in ZBrush, because that's a whole different class, and we just didn't have enough time. I don't have enough time in this class to take you through all that stuff, but I want you to know that's what you are going to do in the industry now. Not to say that something like a crate like this, you can definitely do all the normal mapping and details in Substance Painter now, because it will allow you to do some really cool things and add detail that you never could before. You usually had to do high poly modeling and sculpting in ZBrush to add all those details, but things have changed now. So I'm going to show you a faster, different way, more up-to-date way of doing a high poly and adding those details, and hopefully that'll get you some quicker results than going into ZBrush and sculpting everything from scratch. Normally you're forced to, because if I go back up to my character here, all those details that you see here, the belt buckles, anything that you see in the hair, and the goggles and the skulls, were all this stuff was all sculpted in ZBrush. I started the model, the human shape and form in Maya, and then brought it into ZBrush and sculpted the rest. It takes forever, and it takes a long time. Not that. And I started this last year, and I did some stuff in Substance Painter, and there's a lot of stuff in ZBrush, but most of the stuff I did modeling wise in in ZBrush. So Substance Painter makes this much easier. Okay, now you do, on the flip side, because this is an organic model, you're gonna find that sculpting in ZBrush is the way to go, because Substance Painter just can't recreate this kind of detail, and it doesn't. And Substance Painter doesn't have the tools to be able to do sculpting. So, when you do organics like characters, you're going to want to bring it into ZBrush. But if you're doing hard surface modeling, it's perfectly fine to create these details that you see here in Substance Painter. There's no need to bring it into ZBrush, because that's just a waste of time, because you can do all this stuff in Substance Painter and while you're texturing. So it's efficient. It's more efficient. All right, with that said, then you move on to adding textures to your Sci-Fi Crate in Maya. Normally, to check what the textures look like, it's great to bring it into Maya. But if you're working and creating assets for Unreal, you're going to probably want to bring it into Unreal right away and see how it looks. But it's really good to add the textures in Maya to kind of preview what they're going to look like first. And again, to give yourself, to show off your product, you can either use Maya or you can use Marmoset. That's another a great tool to show off your work, is to bring in a Marmoset. And again, a lot of you can't afford that, so I show you how to set up everything in Maya. And so it's pretty straightforward. And of course, again, any questions you guys may have, or something you missed, or whatever you're not quite sure what to do, make sure that you send me emails or send me questions that you may have when you're setting this up. The hardest part is to get the lighting correct. You don't want it too bright, you don't want it too dark. So I take you through the lighting process. We want to see shadows, we want to see dark areas, we want to see like an ambient occlusion setup, so it just kind of shows off your sci-fi box. If you guys need help with finding textures for the walls and floors, just kind of nudge me in an email, and I might send you something just to get you started. Okay? All right. And the rest is you just take what you did with the large crate, and then you just do it to the small crate. So you'll have two of them. And this is how I'm going to grade you. Again, just read that very carefully. If you need help with something, you have questions, let me know. And then I don't think I'm going to have any turn-in instructions for this. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and I'll have some screenshots and stuff for you to let you know. And I do have an extra, if you have extra time, I do have a modeling challenge for some of you guys that are excited about modeling challenge. And I've got a toaster or a tea kettle that you guys can model and get some extra points for that, extra credit. And you can apply that to any area that you want. Okay, the only thing you can't apply it to is the final exam. Okay, all right. So that's it. If you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, man, it's been great to have you guys in class, and I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope you learned a lot. And I wish we had longer time. It just seemed like it went pretty quick. The summers always do. If you would like to take the course again, not that you want to, but if you do, I'd love to have you in class. So I usually teach this in class. So those of you who'd like to take it again or you enjoyed it, feel free. Otherwise, move on to the next course. And if you have questions about what course you should take, I'm open to discussing that with you. And hopefully I'll see you guys in another class next semester. Have a great time. And if I don't see you again, I wish you the best of luck with everything. And just remember that I've got a YouTube, YouTube page, CG Patrol, CG, capital CG PATROL, and look that up, and you are free to browse all my videos and learn even more if you want to. So have fun, enjoy yourself, and have a great summer. And I will see you guys with the final exam, which is next week. Starts on Saturday. Next week, Saturday. And basically, it's a practical. I tell you what, I give you a reference. You have to replicate it perfectly. So it's a challenge that you're going to have if you ever get into gaming companies where they have an art test. This is going to be basically an art test, and we'll see how you guys do with that. If you guys do really well, then you're going to be prepared for pretty much anything. Okay? Anyway, talk to you soon, and hopefully see you guys sometime in another class.